previous video, people told me that I have no right to try to define what resistance is. And that question, who gets to define resistance, is what this video is about. Some viewers heard in my previous video that I was saying that art is useless, or people should stop making things, or by knitting a hat, it's silly and shallow. But that's not what I said. Art has always been part of political struggle. Music, banners, posters, clothing, always. What I challenged was something much narrower. I challenged the way we use the word resistance now, because there is a difference between something that expresses our values and something that directly confronts power. But they are not the same, and calling that system out is not an attack on artists. It's an attempt to be more precise about how that change happens. And precision matters when people are being harmed. I also want to respond to the claim that my argument is ableist. I most certainly don't believe that your actions or your activism only counts if you can physically get out and march, if you can get arrested or stand out in the cold or otherwise put your body in harm's way. That would be deeply ableist. Disabled people, chronically ill people, immunocompromised people have always sustained movements in ways that are emotionally heavy, invisible, domestic. And that work is real. What I'm trying to separate is not people, but language. Coping, self-soothing, and survival are not failures. They are absolutely necessary, but they are not the same thing as resistance to power. And naming that difference is not meant to exclude disabled people. It is an attempt to stop measuring political worth or activism by the visibility, the performance, or the aesthetics. If you are disabled and are sincerely asking what you can do to help, here are some suggestions that do not require physical risk and public presence. None of this is glamorous or photographs particularly well, but it is the infrastructure that movements depend on. Another group of comments echoed the following sentiments.
We are scared.
It is not safe to protest where we live.
Most of us are far away.
Meral is collapsing. Making something helps us survive.
And I want to take that seriously, and I would like to respond to the idea that I am audacious to call out what is or is not resistance because I am not American or because I live far away. I am a Black woman in the UK, so don't worry, we have fascism and racism at home. So we too are watching the rise of the far right. When I talk about why I'm careful with the word resistance, it's because the political climate over here is certainly not neutral.
We want to tell you about a new party. Has grown rapidly. We need to stop immigration and give Britain back to the British people.
In the UK, parties like Reform UK or Britain First have grown into a major force by making immigration and national identity central to their agendas and have consistently led polls and local elections. Public concern about immigration is one of the top issues in British politics right now. Surveys show that many people believe that migration and asylum seekers are growing in their local area, especially among Reform voters and voters of similar parties. And that matters because anti-immigration rhetoric have become common aspects of public discourse. And there have been large protests and counter-protests in towns and cities up and down the country. Sure, I'm not American, but this isn't abstract for me. I live where political rhetoric about belonging, difference, security, and migration is shaping everyday conversations, and where divisive narratives have a real effect on people's lives. Because of that, being precise about what resistance is and what it isn't some personal academic obsession for me. It is grounded in the world that I live in, where language and power have consequences for real people. So yes, I am watching anti-migration rhetoric harden over here as well. We are watching the political climate tighten around people like me. So I am not speaking from a position of comfort and detachment, and I am baffled by the suggestion that I am. I certainly agree that for many people, crafting is about coping. It's about staying sane under financial pressure, fear, and exhaustion. Self-preservation is important. Coping is not resistance, but coping can certainly support resistance, and those two are not the same thing. If knitting a hat is what someone can do safely, then let's call it what it is. It's solidarity, morale building, fundraising, and connection. Those things have their own value without needing to be inflated into this is resistance. So distance and safety informs what people can do, but they do not change what actually confronts power. I want to explain why I'm careful with the word resistance in particular. And once again, as a woman of colour in the UK, I don't experience resistance as an aesthetic or an identity. For people like me, resistance counts as risk, not a knit along. It carries a pretty long history of being profiled and targeted, detained, stopped and searched, and a long history of people losing their jobs, their homes, their safety, and sometimes their lives. So when I talk about being precise with language, it's not to scold anyone. It's about being accountable to people who always pay the highest price when resistance is real. One of the comments I received was by a trans activist who said that they spend their days dealing with documentation, appeals, prescriptions, homelessness support, and crisis care, and knitting at night just to cope. That comment matters to me because it makes one thing very clear. There are people doing coordination, casework, safety planning, transport, legal support, medical access, the follow-ups when the protest ends and the cameras go home. So when we collapse symbolism like knitting a red hat with real work, with real resistance, those people disappear once again into the background. But they are the ones who absorb all the risk, and they are the ones that hold communities together. And that is who I'm accountable to in these conversations. Believe me when I say this is not about ranking to see who is the better activist. It is a division of labor. Art can carry resistance. Symbols can help us identify each other. Morale keeps people going, and fundraising helps support projects, but resistance has to carry people. It has to carry safety, logistics, and consequences. But those roles are not interchangeable, but they are complementary. I'm not trying to police anybody's choices or their lives or their survival. I'm talking about language and power. And there is a difference between saying this matters to me and saying this action confronts power because it materially changes things for people being harmed. It's not a personal attack, but the latter is the only way in which things are ever going to change. Being careful with the word resistance is not nerve on my part. It's accountability to the people who always pay the highest price. So I'm not asking people to stop making things. I'm not asking anyone to stop coping. I'm not asking anybody to stop creating symbols, but I'm asking us to be honest about the role that our making plays. Because when we get that right, we stop asking symbols to do the work of the people.